get us started here. And we will go ahead and welcome Tara tonight to the hot seat. So Tara, how are you?
Good.
Great. Before we get started here, I always like to tell people if this is your first time with us, welcome. Please give us a like on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we will have a part of the show where we will allow people to kind of ask questions if they want, kind of come in and make it a little more audience interactive. Boy, it's been one of those days. I feel like it's a little tongue twister there. We'll just pull that one out and start over. So a little more interactive with the audience. But in the meantime, we are super happy to have you. And go ahead and start telling us about yourself. Obviously, you're in a hotel room. That kind of foreshadows some of this.
No, I'm just at work. I don't know what you want to know. Let's see. I have 3 kids.
Okay. Where do you live?
I live in Boise.
Boise. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I work for Cottonwood Suites. They're owned by an independent called Hotelco. Hotelco is a company that flips hotels. So they get really run down hotels and then they flip them and sell them. And my job is actually to flip the reputation of the hotel so that the hotel can basically sustain the remodel. So if you flip the clientele and then you do the remodel, then if you've got good clientele, it'll sustain that. If you've got the same crappy people, they're just going to continue to destroy the hotel. So that's what I do. I don't know. I've got 3 kids.
How long have you been? How long have you been in hotel work? Like
forever. I think I've been my very first job in a hotel. Gosh, probably 22 years ago or so.
Wow.
Yeah, this is like my first time being a general manager. I've always been in sales or marketing or and the convention side, the event side of things. Been an event coordinator forever and ever. Was a photographer for a convention center for a while. I just like hotels. So yeah.
You like
hotels?
So
have you met anybody interesting? Like in the 22 years, like who's come in that's been like a famous person you've met?
Oh, I don't know anybody famous. I mean, I've got great stories, but nobody famous.
Nobody walked in, you're like, hey, I know you.
No, I haven't had anybody famous. I've had crazy stories, but I haven't. Probably the most famous person that wouldn't be famous to you guys. It's a great story though. He was a politician, so I won't say anything about what his name was. He's a really, really, really big guy, like heavy guy. And I was director of sales, and he came a couple of days early, and went in his room and stuff. And this housekeeper came running to me, and it had been 3 days. We do these things called 3-day wellness checks, basically to make sure the person in there is like living and the hotel room isn't destroyed. So she came and she's like, there's something wrong with him and he's asking for you. Come quick. And I went in there, and this guy had fallen asleep in the bathtub, and he was so big that he got like suctioned into the tub.
Oh my God.
And his body had like absorbed the water.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I go in there, and like he's like kind of ballooned over the tub.
Whoa.
And he's like, Tara, don't tell me. I mean, he's like dying. He's like so sick. And he's like, can you cover me up and call an ambulance, but make me look presentable? And I'm like, you're stuck in a tub, man. And so it was crazy. So we called the ambulance, and they came, and this is so funny. They asked us if we had a snow shovel. And so
snow shovel.
Yeah, so I went and got a snow shovel. I'm just like pacing, like freaking out, hoping that nobody knows that that's who's in there. And I hated this because he kept wanting me to do everything because he felt like he knew. He's like this big naked guy. But so we stuck this snow shovel behind him and just kind of like popped him right up.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't like pop all the way up, but it like let go of the suction.
It made a suction sound. Like
it was crazy. So he had to spend a couple of days in the hospital and like detox. But that's why we do 3-day wellness checks. Every 3 days. That's why.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you do, because I'm getting up there in age and I'm single, and I almost have to have my neighbors. I'm like, if you don't hear from me, or people from work, like you don't hear from me in like 2 days, like either call or come knocking, because you always hear those stories about somebody who like is like has a heart attack in the middle of the night and they can't get to their phone, and or they get a stroke and they just can't get their phone, and then you like, where's Corey been for like 2 days or 3 days or a week, and then they come find you.
We'll get you life alert. You can wear the little necklace, that you push the button.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I need to get one of those emergency button ones, because I live alone. That's a scary thing, to live alone and be like, 50. So
Whatever. Oh my gosh.
I've often wondered about that. Like, if something were to happen to me, aside from my kids, like how long would I sit there before someone could like figure it out? It would probably be like at the very least, like several days, when work's like, anybody heard from Everett in a while? No.
That's always scary if you're like hurt, like if I can't imagine like laying with a broken leg somewhere forever. That would be awful. So
yeah. Well, like, I mean, I have to teach a class. I've been having to teach a class on Zoom. And so I was going to go for a run yesterday, and I was thinking about that. I'm like, what if I went for a run and like had a heart attack, and like nobody knew? I'm in some hospital, and then the next day they're like, all right, so we're going to have Corey present here at this. Wait, where's Corey? He's not even on Zoom. Like, where is he? He's supposed to present. We have all these people waiting on him. It's like, oh yeah, he went for a run like a dummy and got a heart attack. So I literally thought, like, I should probably not go for a run, just in case something might happen, or I get hit by a car. And
that's awesome. That's funny. Yeah,
it's funny, the stuff that you think about, and then you tell these stories, and I'm like, oh, that's the worst.
Hotel stories are
you always hear about crazy things happening. Like you go in there and like the maid finds somebody that's like committed suicide, or like
been there, done that.
Yeah, I'm sure you probably have.
Gosh, that's horrible.
I've heard, interestingly enough, like this is weird, totally off topic, and maybe we'll circle back around later when we kind of get into suicide. But I heard one of the biggest places that happens is mall parking lots.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like people want to be found, and they will go into a mall parking lot and just have a note or something, and then off themselves in their car. Really weird, really bizarre. I never would have thought that, but I knew like a couple people that worked at malls, and they're like, well, not just like at the little retail stores, but like mall security or mall management or something. They're like, yep, we probably get 4 or 5 a year.
Wow.
Crazy.
Yeah. No, we get things like affairs, and we have guys that'll say, this is the girl coming in, and this would be my wife, and she's looking for me, I'm not here. And we have like a grid so that we sort of know who we can tell what's going on. It's crazy. So it's just drama every day, which is fun.
So they want you complicit with their affairs. They're like, hey, if my wife comes in, I'm not here.
Hilton was probably way worse. I was with Hilton for 11 years, and I saw way more affairs at Hilton than I have here. So yeah, lots of affairs at Hilton. Yeah.
I saw shadier stuff when I have to go overseas and work. So I've seen shadier stuff. I was in the Philippines, and I saw these like American guys in the breakfast area, and I'm eating breakfast, getting ready to head over to the embassy for some meetings. And I'm like looking around, I'm like, what are these old dudes in here with these like 20-something-year-old Filipina girls? Like, so I asked the guy who was giving me a ride over, I said, what's the deal with that? He's like, oh yeah, those are working girls.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, and there was a lot of them. I'm like, there's like, I could count like 5 or 6 in there. I'm like, this is weird. Some weird stuff. So I've seen weird stuff overseas.
So, and part of my job, which is like the worst part of my job that I really hate, as far as the reputation management part of my job, for the whole company, is human trafficking is huge right now. And after the police have come and after it's all over, I go in and try to reset the hotel basically. And I hate that. Like it's crazy. That's part of my job I don't like.
So when you say the police come, do they like catch these guys there or something like that?
Yeah, oh yeah, like, and I come way after. Like I don't ever see it all go down. But we have a protocol that we call in if we suspect it. There's a list of things that are kind of indicative of, and then they'll come and and investigate. And if there's a problem, then they make some arrests. But if it actually like makes the news and it's a big deal, then basically I have to go and convince everybody that the hotel's still safe. So yeah.
That's some strange, weird stuff. So what's the strangest thing that you found in a hotel room?
A hairless cat.
A hairless cat.
Yeah, somebody left their cat. And I'm not joking. It was, they left it under the bed, and this next guest went in, and, or I guess the housekeepers went in, and like there's a, what did you, oh yeah, that's true. Sorry, I'm reading Brent's comment. Anyway, it was this cat. They'd left this hairless cat, and I wanted to keep it, honestly. I mean, it's the weirdest thing ever, but yeah.
That's weird.
They came and got it like 2 days later.
Did it look like the cat off of the Friends episode where Jennifer's trying to get rid of the hairless cat? Like,
yes,
cat?
yes,
Oh.
it was like Dr. Evil. I like took so many pictures. I thought it was so cool. Yeah. Anyway, it was really funny. And then the next day, somebody left a goldfish, and the next day there was like a wolf. Like there were all these crazy pet things going on, right one day after another. So that was the hairless cat was weird.
Do you guys have Bob staying there or something? I mean, who carries a goldfish around with them?
I don't know. I don't know, but they left it, and it was in there. It was his baggie.
I was gonna say maybe they won it at like a fair.
Yeah, or they went and bought it and forgot it. I don't know. That was weird too.
It's possible. They're like, you know, I killed my son's goldfish. I gotta get a goldfish and take it home before he finds out, and then he forgets it.
And then he forgets it in the hotel. Yeah, yeah.
He's like, I'm the worst father ever.
There have been really gross things they've found, and then just weird stuff. Like the cat was weird.
Okay,
so.
what's the gross thing besides the guy that suctioned in his bathtub?
No, I mean, probably the gross. I don't even know if I want to say it, but the grossest thing that we've ever had to deal with, that actually I put all these are all business guys that seemed normal, and they had a little like soiree in there, and it was nasty. It was so bad. I wanted to kill them all. I was so mad. So I actually blacklisted them all the way across Hilton, because I just wanted them to walk into the next one and have everybody know that they were sickos. And yeah, so it was disgusting. It was so gross. So
That's gross.
Every time I have to go and stay at a hotel, I always wonder, like, if I were to take a black light to this room right now, what would I really be staying in, you know? Like the bed especially, that's what freaks me out, because I've seen like little documentaries before where they have people that go in and they clean the room, and they always say, like, if it's a glass cup in there, like in the bathroom, don't use it.
Oh, no,
Because,
no, yeah.
Yeah, they'll wipe down the counters with the rags, and they'll wipe out the cup and set it down and put a new little paper thing over it. I'm like, that's disgusting. You just wipe down everything, then wipe down the cup. That's gross. So I always wonder, like, do they actually change the sheets each time? Or do they just straighten out the beds? Like,
I have this trick that I play on my housekeepers, and they know, and this is how I make sure the sheets are changed, because I'm always worried that they'll take shortcuts, is I just pick a room at random, and under the fitted sheet, I'll put a little note that says, come and see me for a candy bar, or, you know, stuff like that, so that I know that if they're changing the sheets, are going to run across that note. And so there's little things like that you can use, but there's really no way to know if somebody's taking shortcuts. We also have kind of a checks and balances where the laundress knows how many sheets she's washed. And I'm kind of big on this. I want to make sure it kind of matches up how many guests we had. So there's a lot of managers who aren't like that though. So I don't.
It does happen, right?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Probably Hilton the most, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's even happened here. You know, we've had it happen 3 or 4 times. You know, if you've got a lazy housekeeper and nobody's watching her, then she just wants to move on. So yeah.
Don't do it, Everett. Ignorance is bliss. Trust me. Like I have struggled my whole life. I've gotten a lot better, like a whole bunch better, but I'm a little OCD. And I was a little bit of a germ freak when I was younger. Like my kids could not drink out of my glass. Like my kids could not like eat off my fork. You know, I've told you guys the funny story about the toothbrush on my wedding night. My new bride decided to use my toothbrush, and that like grossed me out. You know, stuff like that. So I've gotten better, but part of it is just just don't know. Just don't ask. Don't find out. Don't take a black light in there. Because if I take a black light in there, I'd be like, oh, I'm never staying in a hotel again, ever.
Yeah, and never sleep in a hotel that has a real bedspread. Like, as long as we use what's called a top sheet, that you have to take it off and wash it too. But those real bedspreads, yeah, that's nasty.
Yeah, I don't get those. Yeah, I don't like those. I take them off. Like when I go to a hotel room, I take the whole thing off and I stick it in the corner. I'm like, I'm not.
I've always heard just sleep on top of everything and you'll be safe. Like bring your own blanket.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm really proud of the cleanliness of my hotel. But it took a while to get here. It was pretty bad when I arrived, but it had a really bad reputation. It's kind of in a drug district. I had never dealt with anything like that before. Yeah, my time here has been crazy. There were signs in the hall that said no sleeping or sex in hallways. And I was like, what? Do people do that? It was that. And so yeah, getting to this hotel.
Well, some of us need to be reminded. Okay. I mean, I'm just saying, happens.
Yeah,
when you're
it
traveling.
was. And now, now it's like a nice family hotel, but it's taken some serious work. So, yeah.
So you host the bash in that hotel, is that correct?
Yeah.
Nice.
So tell us about how the bash got started. Like, tell us all about it. Like,
so when I left Hilton and I came over here, and there was this hilarious kid worked here, and he was so funny. His name was David, and he didn't have a mom, a dad. I shouldn't say he was a kid. He was like 30 years old. He had 5 kids of his own, but to me, he was just kiddish, I guess. And we just tore it up. I mean, we had so much fun, and everything he did, he called the bash. Everything. Like we had birthday bashes. We had window washing bashes where he'd be out there washing guest windows while they were asleep. And he did a line dancing bash in the hallways. And we had like guests watching all my employees line dancing. He was awesome. He was so cool. And, I was like his work mom. He came to church with us. He was just kind of this permanent fixture. And his kids called me Grandma Tara. It was great. And we had a position open for a front desk manager. David didn't have any qualifications. I hadn't really considered him for it. So I hired outside, and I didn't know that it would bother him so bad. So he quit. She turned out to be a mess. And so I really wanted him to come back. And one day he came and he asked for his job back. Well, while I was talking to him, I actually decided I wanted to push him way up, and I wanted him to be my AGM. So he would have gone up like 4 rungs.
Oh, wow.
But I knew I had to probably get approval for, something like that. And so I told him to just hold tight, to wait a day. And I pushed the paperwork through. I mean, I called the corporate office. I was here until like midnight that night trying to get all of his stuff in. Told him to call me in the morning, and the next morning, got all my managers together because I was so excited for David to call. And his phone number came up on my phone, and I answered the phone, and it was David's wife. And she said David killed himself, that he left here and killed himself. And the last line of David's suicide note said, "Even Tara thinks I'm a loser." And I just, I don't know, that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. But so I started researching suicide. I went to the Suicide Coalition. I really wanted to know what the heck, like this kid was too good for this. I couldn't figure it out, and I couldn't wrap my head around it. And all I kept thinking was, I wonder how many times we do that with the Lord. Like, how many times is he has this plan, it's so cool. He's telling all the angels, oh, guess what I have for Tara? I was gonna, gather around. And I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. I've been waiting for this blessing forever. I'm out of here, and we just walk away from it, not knowing that we're right, that we're really that close. And so I did this research, and I said, how do we get people to not want to? Like, what do we do? And it's, if people have 3 things, they can usually make it another day. And that's something new to try, something to look forward to, and friends, not family, not coworkers, but friends. And I kind of went into a little bit of I actually went and slept on in my mom's spare room forever. And I was kind of just like pushing this around in my head. I actually quit my job, which my boss knows me better. He knew it was a fake quit. But my dad came in one day and he's like, look, you got to leave because I got to eat and your mom's not cooking. She's worrying about you. So you know, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. And he said, well, if anyone's going to do anything, you're going to do something. And so I decided, okay, I think that I could get some people together and I think I could give them something to do. I think we could try something new. And I think I could be their friends. And I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try it. And I'm going to have it be a bash because, you know, that's what he called everything. And we worked really hard. And I'll tell you what, the bash is, it's really life-changing. It's really something else. You know, I mean, if you talk to any of my bashers, it's really something else. So it's in David's honor. Yeah.
Oh, well, that's nice to hear. You have one coming up soon, right?
Yeah, just a couple weeks.
Weeks. Did you fill the hotel?
No, it's not going to be in the hotel because we had a hotel fire. And so 2/3 of the hotel can't be used. Okay. So I didn't know what to do. Fire. And so we rented a lodge in the mountains and that's where we're going this time. Wow. So we'll meet at the hotel. We're going to have the devotional at the hotel, but we can't do all of the activities here.
So for those of us who don't really know, like I've never been to a Boise bash or something. I've heard this before. I've heard about it, but I don't know a lot about it. So tell us, just kind of give us an overview for those of us that are kind of ignorant and don't live in Boise, but would love to go to it, but we're stuck here in Portland amongst homeless people and trash.
So I just kind of tried to draw off my own experiences. And I know every time I go to a conference, this is how it happens. Okay, right? You have like these high hopes of meeting people and you go and the first day, you're just trying to figure out where everything is. And then the second day, you're sitting in these big workshops, but you might meet somebody here and there, or there might be a dance or something. And by the third day, you're out of there and you didn't meet anybody. You thought so-and-so would have been nice, right? But you don't really have the opportunity. So the first thing that we do is we set up a Facebook page and we get to know each other well before the bash. I've had to get out of my comfort zone, make myself extremely vulnerable so that other people will too. The bashers know all about my kids, every insecurity, every funny joke, everything that I can think of, I put on there. And we just have these major discussions. I think you guys are part of the BB2 page. We always post on it. And so now, I mean, I haven't met 3/4 of these people, but I can tell you all their names and the funny things about them. So when we get to the bash, the goal is that it's like a reunion. It's not new. So we all know each other when we get there. And then the activities are all over the place. We have a welcome and we have some workshops, but really there's just a big list of all these activities that you can do so that you can kind of find people who are like you. The biggest draw to the bash, which is always funny, is the pillow room, which is just a blank room that I throw 1 million pillows in and we throw a projector in there and some books in there. And, you know, gosh, at BB2, I think we had like a 60-person sleepover. But wow. It was super fun, you know? So there's all these quirky, weird things. There's like David painted rocks all the time. So we have a rock garden in the back of the hotel. You can go paint rocks. You can go out in the pillow room. You can go to a workshop. There's all these activities and you can just do whatever you want. And it's just, I don't know. I basically just tried to figure out how would I want to make friends and how would I want to meet people. And these people are crazy. They have so much fun, you know, so it's been cool.
So I hear that you're an introvert. So
I am. Yeah. Yeah. This has been hard for me.
Yeah. So you obviously have to go outside your comfort zone to not only like organize something like that, but then pull it off and be, you know, the happy host when everyone shows up, right?
Yeah. So, and about that, Celeste, it's funny. I figured, and I tell all the bashers this too, I don't ask them to do anything that I that, I mean, I am pushing myself as much as they're pushing themselves. There's nothing going on here that they need to feel self-conscious about, or like the host of it is freaking out too. And I have my safe spaces. I have my, you know, I know where my escape rooms are. I know what I need to do. And if you're one of those people, follow along, we'll be okay, you know. And so the introverts have grown to love me, you know. It's just something. In fact, I've got a lot of introverts that are now way more extroverted than I am through the bash. So yeah, it's just funny.
Now, is this something you do every year is it like a weekend or like a whole week? Or, I mean,
we do it, we start on Friday and end on Sunday, and we do it twice a year. And wow. It's usually the weekend after general conference. So this year it's a couple weeks later because I had to change the venue, but weekend after general conference.
So, well, this kind of stinks because I'm going to actually be in Boise for work like next month, but at the beginning of the month. So I got like a month. So I'm just going to miss you guys, but that would be a lot of fun.
It's really, I mean, people love it. It's just, I don't know. We get the electric scooters. I have them all lined up. We've had so many wrecks on the scooters. I'm funny. We always have injuries. So, yeah.
Wow.
This year for the, you know, so I've been trying to think, okay, how can I like mimic everything at this lodge? So we rented a bounce house to be the pillow room. It's going to be so cool. So awesome. Yeah.
Now, how many people do you usually get showing up there?
Well, our first one, I had 40. And the second one, I had 72. And this time we have 85. So,
wow, so this is the third one then?
This is the third one. We have like, I think we have 62 people on the waiting list. It usually sells out within the first couple of weeks. So it's cool.
So it's kind of limited space, kind of buy a ticket sort of thing, right?
You know, I think that if we got too many people, we wouldn't make friendships the way that we do. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but we get very tight. Like all of us will say that our best friends were met this way. And I think if it was a big thing, I'm not sure that we could really pull that off. So
yeah, there's a rule that I learned in business school when that they talk about the rule of 150. So usually systems, businesses, or employees, the system tends to fail after 150.
I would agree with that.
They'll say that if a business has 150 employees, you're better off to break them into 2 branches and have, you know, 75 over here and 75 over there, and then let them grow to 150 and then split them again.
Yeah.
But the minute that it goes over 150, and they've done all these studies, it's just a weird anomaly. It becomes unruly. People get left out. People feel left out. They don't feel like they're getting their needs addressed, whether it be customers or employees. And so maybe that's something to think about when you get close to that 150 mark. You might have to say, look, we're cutting it off at 120 or whatever.
Yeah. You know, you're right. And we've actually thought about, we've had a lot of people ask me about maybe starting a Boise Bash East on the eastern side. You know, it's been such a big thing that you might see it pop up in other parts of the country, because we have people fly in from all over the place.
You could do a Boise Bash South and do it down here in Dallas.
We can.
I would be excited for that.
Yeah.
Well, why would they call it Boise Bash in eastern Idaho, though? Is there like no cool towns there? They didn't want to call it the Burley Bash or something? Like nobody would want to go to that?
How about the Alexandria Bash?
Right.
No,
the Pocatello, like
it's the Boise Bash, all right?
It is always the Boise Bash.
Because I said so.
I think the key is you just call it a bash. Like we're going to the East Coast Bash. We're going to the Intermountain West Bash. We're going to the Pacific Northwest Bash.
No, it's the Boise Bash Pacific Northwest. All right. All right.
Yes.
I like
the Boise Bash.
Keep it the Boise Bash. I think that's awesome. But just locate it here in Dallas.
So it's been cool. It's been really cool in David's honor. Like it's I'm actually really ticked off at that kid for doing what he did. And I guess I miss him. But really one thing that we really drive home is, you know, what a jerk to leave me like this. You know, we really do try to show people how much there is to live for and how much you haven't tried. Everything is a bash. We've never had 2 bashes that are the same. The only thing that's the same is the pillow room. Activities are always different. Classes are always different. So you always know that you're going to be doing something different than you even did last time. So there's always these crazy things that we do that are really pretty crazy. So at BB2, we rented a town. We rented the town of Emmett, Idaho, and we danced in their bar, and we used their theater to play Price is Right. We had a taco bus follow us around. It was crazy. So, yeah.
Wow. That sounds like crazy. That sounds like fun.
Yeah, awesome.
So this is kind of like, you know, just when I hear you talk about David and then him with the suicide, it just reminds me of Robin Williams, right? Like here you've got this person who seems like outwardly life is great and they're funny and they're super happy, but obviously inward, there's some sort of demon that they're struggling with that just maybe people don't even know about, or maybe those closest to them are the only ones that know. Did you have any sort of indication, anything that he was depressed or any sort of clues?
The only thing that David used to say, he used to call me his work mom, and he used to say things like, it's weird to hang out with your family because I feel like I'm in a family. I've always been disjointed. I've never had a family. I've never been a real human. People, you know, I'm disjointed. The other thing that I never really put together, we were getting ready to redecorate the hotel, and he brought me all of his Boise State stuff, like all of it. And I was like, why are you giving me all your stuff? You know, and he's, because I want you to make the really cool BSU room. It's gonna be awesome. You can have a BSU bash. And you know, I wish I would have honed in. He was giving me all of his things. I, you know, now that I know more about it, I would have been like, wait a minute, you know, he's giving me all those things because he's not going to be using them anymore. Yeah. He also sent me this song, like before he came in, and I hate him for this so bad. Before he came and saw me, he sent me that song, Happier by Bastille and Marshall. I don't know if you guys have ever heard it, but it's like, I want you to be happier, so I'm going to leave. And he was like, hey, Terry, you got to hear this song. It's really cool, but you got to listen to it. You got to listen to all the words. And, you know, I wrote him back. I'm like, yeah, it's a cool song. Awesome. But all of those things now, I wish that I would have stopped and thought just a little bit more than I did. So I think that there were some clues. I just didn't know what I just didn't know anything about suicide. So yeah.
I'm getting a sense that you carry a little bit of this on your shoulder. Like there's a little part of you that's kind of, you feel guilty almost.
So David's wife kind of blamed me she didn't talk to me for a long time. Because he literally left my office and did this. And so, yeah, I mean, yeah, I do. His promotion file sat on my desk until the end of BB2, Boise Bash 2. And I cut up his folder with the bashers, threw it away. Yeah.
So let me ask you another question then. Obviously, he's bringing stuff to you from Boise State. He's got all these things that he's kind of clues, as you put it, kind of doing. Do you really think that it's just that one incident that pushed it over? I mean, do you really believe that that was what caused it? Or if this was kind of something he was heading down a road that was inevitable anyways in his mind, and he was just,
I think he knew he was going to do it for a long time. What I have found is that the people who actually follow through are the people who don't say anything. In fact, they try to kind of live their last wishes first, you know, make sure you get this, make sure you like, and that was going on for probably 3 or 4 months, you know. I think his wife maybe needed somebody to throw it at, you know, right. And so I just didn't want it to be me, obviously.
Sure.
And we're good now. But yeah, that was just a really terrible time. I mean, it's been almost 3 years now, but that was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever dealt with.
And that was 3 years ago, you
hard.
said?
I mean,
3 years ago, yeah.
Suicide's hard because there's not much you can really do. I mean, you can do the best you can if you read the warning signs. Sometimes you can catch it, but it's not going to ever prevent them from reattempting it again in the future. So, I mean, it's a lot of burden to take on and to try to blame yourself. I mean, people have their free choice. They're going to make a decision. If they want to do it, they're going to do it. And unless they get help, they're going to do it. And a lot of times people shove us off. We're like, you seem a little depressed, and why are you giving your stuff away? And they'll just lie to you and say, oh, I'm fine. It's nothing. I really do want you to make a nice Boise room. And, and they'll tell you stuff just to kind of shoo you away. So sometimes you can't really blame yourself. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny because I think that what it is suicide gives you no closure, to be sitting there and looking at that file, like it just was, it's like this weird, like you want to forgive, like if somebody just dies, there's nothing to forgive them for. There's no reason to be mad at them. But with this, okay, for example, David met my ex-husband one day, and when my ex left the hotel, David's like, man, what a jerk. How could he leave such a good girl like you holding such a terrible bag? I mean, that's horrible. And when he died, that was the very first, I thought, man, David, you're a jerk. How could you leave a good girl like me holding such a terrible bag, man? To me, it was like, you chose to leave me like this, so it's a weird thing. It's like there's grief, and it's like, how could you do that to me? It's just an interesting feeling. I don't know how else to describe it. So
yeah,
it's this is kind of one of those things. Obviously, I'm sure you've probably heard Elder Renlund talk about this quite a bit. There's a lot of misconception in the church, I think, of people who have committed suicide. A lot of people tend to cast judgment and throw shade and say, well, they've kind of like blown their chances or something. But I have always had a hard time believing that. And I kind of tend to lean more towards what Elder Renlund said about it. I mean, if you're a father or a mother, which you've got kids, right? Mm-hmm. If my kids were in a situation where it was just so traumatic to them that they felt like they had to just escape, I can just see in my mind's eye that embrace from the Savior for those people who go to the other side, that they need some help, not some punishment. And I just see him holding them saying, it's okay, I've got you,
When David lived his life feeling like an empty person, like, I had to stop and think, well, at least he's full now. I mean, he knows, instead of always looking, David turned to bashes because kindness made him fill up. Like, he liked to serve. So that is what I'm trying to teach the bashers, that serving, trying something new, having friends actually increases the serotonin in your brain and helps you have a purpose. And I think that that's why David always did this, was that it was a way to fill up, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, certainly I think one of the things that's best for us in life is when we can take lemons and make lemonade out of it, right? Yeah. And it sounds certainly like you have taken something that is difficult and turned it into something wonderful. And I would imagine he is probably happy about that at this point. So
I'm sure he loves Bash. Yeah, we do some crazy stuff, and right up his alley for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, he's probably there with you guys a little bit, like, oh, if only you knew.
Oh.
He brings the spirit of fun to it. So
without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. It sounds like the bash came from something tragic to something fun and memorable. I think that it's good that you did that. And in his memory, you know, you guys are having a good time, and hopefully it's been healing for you too.
Oh yeah. I did this for other people. I had no idea that I needed it. But you know, these people are my best friends too. We just, it worked. It just worked, you know, so.
Yeah. So you were saying that you are divorced. So how long were you married for?
I was married for 12 years. Yeah, and my divorce story is pretty crazy. And then I know you guys are curious about all these engagements I've had. They're great stories. They're funny stories. Yeah. So I guess I'll just get into it. When I got divorced, I was living in Boise, and my husband came to me one day and said we were being transferred to Missouri with his job. He worked for T-Mobile. So we moved to Missouri, and I wasn't feeling well. I didn't really know what was wrong with me, but I wasn't really feeling well. And he kept pushing me to get my Missouri driver's license. I don't know why that was like such a big deal for him, but he kept trying to get me to like establish residency. So I did. And one day he came home, and there was a kitchen chair in the living room. It's so funny how your mind does this, but there's this kitchen chair in the living room. And he said, he's like, sit down. I'd cut his hair that morning. So I sat down on this chair, and he just looked at me straight in the eye, and he said, look, I fell in love with somebody in Missouri when I was back in Idaho, but I couldn't leave my kids behind. And I was like, what? Yeah, I was so confused. And I mean, I made him like retell me 5 times. And he's like, yeah, I just can't leave my kids behind. And I said, well, that doesn't make any sense. I'll just take them and I'm going to go home, go back to Idaho. He's like, you can't. You're a Missouri resident. And it was like, what? So yeah, it sucked. So he left, and that was crazy. So, and I'd been feeling sick. So I got this like wild hair. So I always go big with things. And he collected antique Bibles. And so in this fit of rage, a really terrible person. I mean, they were from all over the world. I went into every single one of them and highlighted the 10 Commandments with this marker and like wrote on the sides of them and then boxed them up for him. And he never, to this day, he has never said anything about that. And yeah, so I guess he's never opened them. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it was pretty bad. But I was selling all of his stuff. I just was like in this crazy funk, and we were having this yard sale, and all of a sudden I had this like weird pain. I've been having these weird pains, and my neighbor was really worried about me, and I collapsed. I couldn't stand back up, and she took me to the hospital. I was so sick, and I had cancer. I was diagnosed with cancer. It was a sickness. So I needed to get surgery. And here I had just been left. I had 3 kids in the waiting room. And this is a story the bachelors don't know. It's kind of fun, but I called my bishop, and my bishop came with this single guy that was in the ward, and his name was Rick. They came and gave me a blessing. And a couple of days later, my mom and dad were in Missouri. They'd come to help me. And my dad, my parents are super cool. They're like way beyond cool. They had lived in Burley, Idaho. And my dad said, hey, Tara, this is this crazy thing. Did you know that Springfield, Missouri is hiring for a Home Depot manager? My dad's a Home Depot. He was a Home Depot manager. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's so weird. So, I mean, it's so crazy. Like, I just found out about this. And so I think we should do it. I think maybe we should buy your house so you don't lose it. And I don't know, it's just a crazy idea I'm having. So my mom and dad actually moved to Missouri to help me out. And we were there for 7 years.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Wow. And how long
ago support through it?
What's that?
How long ago was your divorce?
I always say 12 years, but I'm thinking, okay, I've been saying 12 years for a long time now. So it was actually
say 12 years for 12 years. It's still 12 years. It's okay.
I got divorced in 2007. So I guess it's been almost like 14 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And how long were you married for?
12.
12. So 12 and 14 now. Not 12 and 12 anymore.
No.
Okay.
So would you say you're kind of enjoying the single life?
Yeah, now I am. I got into this. I see all these LDS women do it too. So anyway, after I went through all that, there was like one single guy in my ward, and he was actually super cool, really nice guy. Well, wait, I digress. I'm going to tell you about the very first date that I went on first. Somebody set me up with this guy, and then I talked to him online and stuff, and I hadn't really met him in person. And then I met him a couple of times. He was really cool. I was over at his house one day, and I hadn't met his kids yet. I always say, okay, so let me give you some preface. I hate it when people say, I love my kids more than anything in the world. Like, when they put that in their profiles and stuff, because I'm always like, duh. I mean, I would hope it's not like I love my kids next to Pop-Tarts or whatever, like, I hope so. But the question is, am I going to love your kids? That's always the big question. So, anyway, so we're sitting on his couch, and this little human like catapults himself over the balcony onto the couch, and he's like just this, oh my word, his kids were crazy. They were so crazy. But we finally got him to bed. I'm sitting with this guy, and I bent down, took off my shoes, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so tan. Okay, I was like, oh wow. And I leaned over and I like touched his legs. I couldn't believe how tan he was, and they were pantyhose.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wait, what's wrong with pantyhose? No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
And I was like, oh, I mean, those are one of those moments when you just don't know what to say. It's like, huh.
Hey, did he's like, oh yeah, I just wear pantyhose, or?
So he had to give me this huge talk about cross-dressing and how it's really not weird. And all I'm thinking is, it is weird because I don't even like pantyhose. Like, I would never volunteer to wear them. Like, how it was so weird. It was so bizarre.
If you have to give the speech to try and convince somebody, it's weird.
It was so weird.
Yeah, you don't have to talk somebody out of it if it's normal, right?
Yeah, you don't start off a conversation where, hey, wearing ball caps is not weird, right? You don't have to start that conversation off with like, it's just
like girdle pantyhose weird conversation. I listened to the conversation not because I was interested, but because I was fascinated. Like, this is really a thing. I'd never even. But it was so weird.
The question is, does he wear the whole outfit eventually? I mean, eventually you're gonna walk into a room and he's got a dress on with like pearls around his neck and he's wearing high heels. I
just don't know why he was picking like the most uncomfortable things. Like, the guy was into like Spanx and pantyhose, like nothing even fun to wear. It was so bizarre. It was so weird.
Unless you're trying to hide something, you're trying to keep things in, Spanx, you just.
So that was the very first date I went on after my divorce, was that one.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Well, I agree with you, Tara. Like, that's my pet peeve when I read those profiles and like a woman says like, my kids are my everything. I feel like, well, there's no room for me. Because if everything in the entire world is your kids, then where do I fit in? Like, and what happens when your kids move out? Because if they're your everything, what is going to happen to you if they all move out one day and they're your everything? Like, those are my two biggest questions. Like, where do I fit in? And when your kids turn 18.
Because a woman says that doesn't mean they're saying there's no room for anybody else, right? Sometimes if you're post-divorce and your life is a complete and utter nightmare, your kids really are your foundation.
Yeah.
Like, it's what keeps you going.
Your foundation.
It's what makes you focus. It's what keeps you getting out of bed and moving forward. So I don't know. I would, because I always put my kids are my everything on my profile, but there's room. It's just, it's because to me, that's what gave me hope. And
so my big thing is
the drive to move forward. So anyway,
before I had kids, my mom gave me probably the best advice ever. It's really good divorce advice too. She said, look, it will never matter how much your kids like you. It will always matter how much other people like your kids. So there are going to be times when they hate you, Tara. And if you, even if you're all alone and they're where you get all of your love and acceptance, your whole part of being a parent is to raise likable kids. And I have found such a hard time, like some people like love their, like, okay, they love their kids, so they think that they need to coddle them or protect, or I don't know how to explain it, but they're not really raising them to be likable. So nobody else likes them. I mean, their mom loves them, but nobody else can stand them, you know?
I've seen families at like church where they just let their kids run wild. Like they're running up on stage, they're banging on the piano, and then the parents are like, oh, it's so cute.
So cute. Yeah.
Like,
you see, the kids like them. So and that my mom always called that's using your kids for your own self gratification. Like you're using your kids to love you instead of teaching them to have a successful life. You know, it's always going to matter what people think of them, whether they have a job. You know, they've got to be able to nail it for their boss. They've got to be able to be okay in front of their bishop. They've got to be able to find a wife. Like it's very important to be likable. And so I don't know. That's always my question.
Well, yeah, and your kids have to be respectful. Like I always taught my kids when they were growing up. I'm like, when they're in public and they start acting like a maniac, I'm like, you know, you are in public with all these other people. They don't need to see you act like a maniac. And then they start looking around like, oh yeah, you're right. I am kind of ridiculous. But some parents don't even care. Like, you know, and sometimes you see these adults that act this way, and you're like, I wonder if they were like that spoiled little child that would scream at their parents in the face and smack them on the cheek in public, and the mom would be like, you're going to be on timeout. Yeah. And the kid's like, no, and smacking the mom, and the mom's like, you better stop smacking me. And it's like, yeah, I wonder if they end up growing up to be a little, you know, little monsters.
Yeah. I know my kids are pranksters and we have a lot of fun. But I think it's because I was kind of hard on them when they were little. And not hard on them, but I was strict. I figured you raise a kid like you raise a horse. You start them off with tight reins so you can loosen them up as they get bigger. My kids are major pranksters, though. In fact, I went out the other day with my two boys, and they sat in the front seat. I was in the back seat. They're 26 and 22, and so we went to McDonald's, and this is the kind of stuff my kids do to me. My son rolls down the window. He's like, "Hey, so he orders his stuff. And he goes, "Yeah." And then my mom just got out. So do you have any burgers without sharp edges? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, she just got out. She can't be around sharp edges. And I'm like stuck in the back seat, you know. So they pull stuff like that on me all the time. But that's you know, funny. But now it's okay because they're not two. I don't know.
That's true.
So now they're pretty funny.
So your first date obviously was a doozy when you first got divorced. Was that there in Boise?
No, it's in Missouri.
Oh, okay. Well, that kind of explains a lot. So, yeah, you know, not to say anything, but somehow there are days where I wonder, like, all right, is it really Jackson County? Do we really have to go there? So, yeah, but there's a reason they call it Misery instead of Missouri. I'll agree with that. So you've gone through 5 engagements. Okay,
yeah. So first of all, before everybody freaks out, remember how long I've been divorced. So it's not like they're like in rapid succession. It's not like I'm just like, yeah. So we'll go through them. We'll go through them.
Okay.
So the first one was the guy who came and gave me the blessing. And he was super cool. It seemed like, so we were always like the ones stuck cleaning up after events at the church. And
how long is this after the divorce? So give us a timeline here. So how long are we talking?
Probably a year.
Okay.
Is when I started dating him, and it's like we hung out a lot. I don't know, we would call it like dating. We were just always together because we were always cleaning up the church, and our kids were the same age. So we were just always together. And when I decided I liked this guy, we were in the nursery room putting things away. And this lady, she made me so mad, but she was like, just let the single people clean up, honey. Let's go home. And it made us kind of mad. And we were just talking in the nursery room. And he's like, man, she makes me mad, right? And I'm like, you know what? She's got teenagers. Let's toilet paper her house. They'll blame it on somebody else. And he's like, are you serious? I'm like, They would never guess it was us. Let's go toilet paper our house. Let's come on, let's do something bad. Let's toilet paper our house. And so we did. We took all the toilet paper out of the church, and we toilet papered the house. And I mean, that night I was like, okay, this is the guy. I mean, we just tore it up. We had so much fun. And we almost got arrested. We played airsoft to this old abandoned house, and these neighbors called the cops on us. And us and all of our kids almost got arrested. So we had like this really fun, cool relationship. And then one night, I guess, so we got engaged, and we dated for 6 months or so. So it was a while, not a really long time, but we'd known each other throughout our marriages too.
You were friends for a while before it became serious, right?
Oh yeah. And like we were around for each other's divorces. Like, you know, we'd been in the same ward and everything. So kind of when it all went down, like it went down over this weekend, and it was just this whirlwind crazy weekend. His daughter was getting baptized, and he was really, really like addicted to the church. I don't know how to explain it, but that was like his hobby. His like if you want to define where he was always at church. I mean, he was very successful. He was a realtor. He's a really neat guy, but he was really really into it. So his daughter was getting baptized. He's like, you gotta hurry, you gotta do her hair, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. And so there was an ice storm that night, and I'm trying to hurry, but I'm, you know, scared to drive too fast. And so I pull into his neighborhood, and like the Idaho girl kind of hits me. So I decided to just slam on the gas, and I was just, you know, slamming, you know, I'll make it on time. And I go flying into his driveway, and he parked his work truck where I usually park, and I slammed into the back of his work truck. So I wrecked his truck, and I, you know, pulled back out and pulled in the other spot. And I went in, and I'm like, I just wrecked your truck. And he's like, it doesn't matter, bro, we got it, we're gonna be late. And he made me laugh so hard, because he's like, they're probably on the second verse of "Come Follow Me." Okay, I will never forget that line as long as I live. Like, it was so bizarre. So I got his daughter ready, and we're like running, and I'm like in this like panic almost, because he's freaking out so bad. So we go into the garage, we jump into the other car, and he hits my car because I'd pulled my car into the other parking spot. So we have 3 wrecked cars. So the one in the garage, my car, and his work truck, all wrecked. Like at the exact
like a little wrecked, or like you hit him pretty good?
We hit him pretty good. Well, I hit his work truck pretty good. They were little wrecks. It was just, yeah, it was just stupid. It was bizarre. So I'm kind of freaking out over that. He's so worried that somehow they're going to have this baptism without his daughter. Like, you know, it's like, they're going to wait for you. She's kind of the guest of honor. It's fine. And he was just completely flipping out. Well, so when we got there, I think that it really bothered me. So when we got there, it was like, well, Tara did this, and Tara did that, and Tara did this, and Tara did that. And I kind of felt little, I don't know how to explain it, but I was willing to take the brunt of it, but I mean, it's not like I did anything wrong. I'd been at work, and I was trying to hurry there, but it kind of made me feel a little bit small. But then the next day, so little background story, he had this big stain on his carpet where one of his sons had spilled Kool-Aid, and he wanted to sell his house. And I was like, oh, I can get that out, no problem. And the trick to getting anything out of, you know, you really want to trick, guys, you want to get anything out of your carpet, you use vodka. Okay, you use like old, gross, like it's like $7 a gallon vodka.
Like the Russian kind.
And it's like a cleaning thing, and it'll clean your carpet.
Wow.
So
just straight vodka, then just pour it on, scrub it.
Yeah.
The cheap stuff, wow. the wino vodka.
The Stolichnaya, the Russian.
The cheapest stuff they have, and it works. It really, I'm not joking. It really does work. So I mean, I'm not really thinking, I guess, and so I show up for Sunday dinner after his daughter's back. So, you know, with like his whole family's having this family reunion dinner thing. And I come waltzing in with this freaking gallon of vodka and to clean his carpet. And he looks at me, he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm gonna clean your carpet. And he's like, on a Sunday? I'm like, and
Oh,
I'm just trying to
he was
figure out.
Hasidic Mormon then.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
so you're gonna clean my house on a Sunday, and you brought vodka into my house. And I said, it's not real vodka, it's cleaning vodka. He's like, there's no such thing as cleaning vodka, Tara. So then like his mom comes around the corner and he's like, well, Tara's being silly again. Tara's, and I just hated it. I just felt like, I don't know.
You're trying to excuse your behavior.
Yeah. Even though, and now the vodka worked and he has no stain anymore, but so I don't know. So I just kind of needed some thinking time. I've never had a bad breakup, believe it or not. After a couple of days, I was like, you know what? I don't know that I want to feel like that. We have a ton of fun together and you're awesome, but I kind of need someone who has my back. Like if I do something stupid, I want to be with somebody who's like, why are you looking at Tara that way? She's brilliant. Why did you bring vodka, Tara? Show us what you got. And I'll be like, okay. That's what I want. I want, somebody who believes in me a little bit.
Yeah, that's always the thing. I think in the church, you don't find things out until like you cross the line with them. Like you don't know what their line is. Like, maybe it's like you show up on Sunday and you're like, here's a pizza. And they're like, you bought pizza on Sunday, and like all of a sudden they're judging you, and you're like, you've been cast out.
and you just kind of feel like, and you get yours right there in the spotlight, and all you can do is just like stand there and so. Yeah,
that would have been a little odd. You walk in on Sunday with a big giant jug of cheap vodka.
And he wasn't backing me up, so I looked like some wino. Like it's like, come on, tell them about the carpet.
Well, not only did he not back you up, he kind of threw you under the bus a little bit.
It felt like it to me. I mean, he kind of did the whole. My whole life, I've kind of gotten the it's just Tara, it's just cute little Tara, and sometimes that's fine, but in situations where I'm going to be embarrassed, I don't like that. It's cute if we're by ourselves and we're just goofing. Yeah, obviously Tara gets in all kinds of messes, but in front of a whole bunch of people who I don't know, I kind of don't like to start off that way with people thinking I'm, naive and stupid, I guess. I'll play into it later, no problem, but I don't like to be introduced like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. So we broke up, and then
now quick question before we go on to the number 2. I'm just curious, obviously it sounds like he's a little bit over the top when it comes to like, it's very much about the appearance of the church and things like that. Was this what the problem was in his prior marriage, the reason he ended up getting divorced?
Sort of, I guess. I'm gonna say his ex-wife got it really into playing rugby or something. I can't remember. There's some sport, and it kept her out of town a lot on the weekends, and he thought she should be going to church with the family, and she just got really into this whole like rugby league, and so he was always there for a long time. He was always at church alone with the kids. So theirs was kind of this gradual fall apart that everybody in the ward could see. Like their marriage just kind of unraveled in front of all of our eyes, where it wasn't like a big like moment like mine was. Like, like I had my husband at church one week and then he was gone. Like his was like an unraveling. Yeah,
that's tough. I mean, I grew up in a part member family, so I know how difficult it was. My mom taking us to church, and her sitting alone with the kids, and people wondering if she's a single mom, and then other people are like, oh no, she's married to a non-member. And I just think that so obviously when I got married, I married somebody who was in the church, and then after my divorce, I obviously run into a lot of non-member women, and and I try not to date anybody who's non-member. I mean, I have in the past, but it's always that awkward conversation, because eventually it's going to come down to like, hey, if we decide to get married, like, are you going to support me going to church? And then I start thinking things like, do I really want to go to church alone? Do I really want to go to the temple alone? Like, are those the things that is that going to eventually bug me? And then will we end up like kind of moving apart because she has activities on the weekends. She wants me to go with her on the weekends. And then, but now I have a calling at church. I feel responsible that I should go to church. And so that's always a sticky issue, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. Trying to find somebody who matches your level of commitment to the church is not level of commitment. I don't know, your upbringing, I don't know how to explain it.
It's a cultural foundation. I think for me, it's a foundation because you don't have to be all like churchy. You don't have to be like, you don't have to be like cultural, obeying all kinds of cultural commandments, I would say. But I would say that for me, it's more, I just want that foundation. So if we say something like, you know what, I heard this really good talk when I was getting ready for work on YouTube, and I want to talk to you about it. And then if I was a non-member person, like I'd feel like, well, let's talk about this, what the prophet said. They're like, prophet,
Yeah.
So you always have to go like back like several levels to be like, well, there's a Heavenly Father and he wants to communicate with his children. And so he, I feel like a missionary, like starting with the first discussion. So I don't know.
My family, I've been LDS my whole life. So have all of them. So it's very ingrained in me. It's just part of who I am. But my family's also a bunch of cowboys, and they're very much like, if there's a Sunday and you feel like your testimony is going to grow more in the mountains on a horse, then that's what they do. Like the church is very much, the gospel is very much a part of them. They talk about it just like they talk about what's for dinner, but I wouldn't even call them Jack Mormons, but they're definitely like cowboy Mormons. Yeah.
Cowboy Mormons. That's a new one.
I don't know what I would call it.
Celeste is like, oh, where do I find them?
Well, it's funny. I call myself a hippie Mormon because I'm from California.
Yeah.
I call myself a hippie Mormon because I'm from California, And well, I did a stint in Utah for work, and it was funny because I would say things like in a church in Utah, and I'd be like, yeah, why can't we have these inactives come to church? I know they got smoking habits, but let's put ashtrays outside. And watching these like Utah Mormons' heads boom explode, right? Bring ashtrays and put them outside in the parking lot. They can have smoke breaks between meetings.
Well, it's better than putting them inside. I think that was really smart.
It's better than not having the person at the church. I think
that's a California hippie guy in me, I guess. Like, hey, everybody come to church. I don't care if you smoke and drink, and
well, neither
wear your Birkenstocks.
So obviously Christ is a hippie Mormon because he wouldn't care if they were there.
No.
He would love them to be there.
He ate with the sinners, right? They were all drinking and doing whatever they were doing when he was having, when he was eating with them, and everybody was kind of like, "Yeah, look at the rabbi over there. Look at Christ. He's eating with the sinners."
Yeah.
So it's Cowboy Mormon. That's a good one. And then we got Hasidic Mormon. We've got a lot of like good Mormon labels tonight.
There you go. Whatever. Yeah. So my family, they're just cool. They're just, I don't know. They have strong testimonies and they live by the testimony more than the law. I don't know how to explain it. They're solid. So
They're real.
I think so.
Yeah.
They don't put on a face to go to church and act like their lives are perfect.
Absolutely not. Yeah. They are who they are. So they're pretty funny.
So round one didn't pan out so well.
No,
we got a couple rounds to get through here. So how many? 5 of these guys.
I know.
As an introvert, I'm thinking, okay, she's quiet. She doesn't date a lot. She's been engaged 5 freaking times since we're divorced. Okay, that's not an introvert.
Well, I'm actually like I can be outgoing, but only for like an hour.
But it's okay. That's the thing. Like you can be an introvert and be outgoing. Like introvert just means you don't need outside sources to get your energy. You just kind of yourself. It's nothing to do with outgoing and shy. Like, it's just I'm an introvert. I can just hang out at my house and do my own thing. That's just what I do. I can do it and it's fine. It doesn't bug me. Whereas other people might be like, I've got to get out. I've got to go meet with some friends. I've got to go mingle and go and see. Like that is more of an extrovert where they get their energy and their excitement from outside sources. So you can still be out.
And that's not me at all. Like I could stay in my house for 2 weeks and be
High five.
totally happy. I would be like, oh yeah.
I was like, this COVID stuff is
But I'm sitting
awesome.
right here. Yeah.
I could totally hang out my house and use COVID as an excuse. This is great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. COVID was a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Like my jammies, my Netflix, my books, my computer.
I need people after a while. I like during COVID when everything was locked down, I didn't even care. I'd be like, just give me the Rona, but I got to go talk to somebody. I don't care if I just go get like a Slurpee and stand there at the counter like, okay, man, how you doing? They're like, are you going to check out? Like, no, I just want to talk to you. How you doing? I got a Slurpee. We're good. Let's be friends. Yeah. Something. I need interaction.
I had to get out during COVID just because I'm a people watcher. I love going out and watching people. And so when summer came around here in Virginia, because COVID hit in April, they started locking things down. And then I think it was like around the end of May, people got so sick of being cooped up. I mean, we were like literally locked down and people were so sick of it. And my neighbor friend was like, hey, let's go down and check out what's going on down on King Street. I said, let's go. So we went walking down there and you wouldn't believe it. It's a Friday, beautiful weather. Almost the whole town was down there. And because all the restaurants were like selling stuff and you can eat and stand on the sidewalk, but the street got taken over. I mean, it was like this horde of people just getting the heck out of their house. And they're eating slices of pizza and they're drinking beers on the street. And it was so amazing, like just watching people again. Because I think for me, I love to go watch people. I love people watching, and not doing it for a couple of months, like drove me crazy. But that was pretty amazing.
You would love what we did for COVID, and we were actually on HLN. The hotel was. I feel like I have to communicate with people, but I don't necessarily need them to communicate back. Like I want to make, for some reason I have this thing where I want people to know it's okay. And I don't know why I'm like that, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a hospitality thing or a mom thing, but it's okay. It's okay. So my hotel backs up to the Boise River and the green belt is in our backyard. So we hung banners about COVID on every single balcony. And they were super cheesy, but you can type it in. It's Cottonwood Boise banners. We're on all the news stations. People came from all over the place. And there were cops out there making sure there was social distancing. But it was so fun because like you, Cray, I like to watch people. So I just like stand up there on the balcony and be like, this is so great. Everybody's coming together and everybody's doing their thing and it's on my lawn. And it was super cool.
Yeah, it was nice to get out. And we have a park that's behind my apartment building, and it's one of those open and kind of air parks, and it has an outdoor stage. And they started doing concerts in the park, and so it was fun to go out there and just to see people sitting on blankets, and they're all socially distancing. So they had these little areas painted or marked off in the grass where you could sit, and then you were like 6 feet away from other people, and it was kind of fun just to get out of the house and after being locked up for a couple of months. But yeah, I'm like you. I do enjoy the indoors, but I got to get out. I'm like Everett too. Yeah, that's probably why I'm a Gemini. I'm like probably half introvert and half extrovert, depending on what Gemini comes out.
So I mean,
how did you meet number two?
So this one was a rebound, and really, this one was stupid. All the other ones were pretty smart. This one was stupid. I met him at this church function in Branson, Missouri. And I have to tell you what attracted me to him, because it's actually kind of funny. This guy, and it was so freaking cool. I don't like spiders at all. And there was this spider on the wall. And I mean, it was a big, ugly, it's going to jump and eat me kind of spider. And he was at the same table as us. And I'm like, wow, that is a huge spider. And he took this ice cube out of his glass and threw it, and it killed the spider. And it was like, whoa.
That's some Mr. Miyagi stuff right there. Like, that's pretty crazy.
Oh, he could catch flies. He was pretty crazy. Like, it was so amazing that I was like, okay, yeah, I think I'm in love with this guy.
That's like on your checklist of like, guys, like, can you kill a spider with an ice cube? If so, we may be right.
It was amazing. it was, I mean, I wanted to find more spiders to have him do it again. It was such a beautiful thing. And then he could dance on top of it. So I was like, this is great. You know, it was like the heavens opened up and just landed him there in front of me. Well, then I found out that he actually lived in his mom's basement. And that should have been my first clue.
Oh
Man.
I know.
Tara, you know what it is for you, Tara? It's like the guys are 99% there, and then they pull out the 1% whammy on you. Like, this guy's awesome. Oh,
every time I know. So here's how bad this was. So he like played video games all the time, and I went up to see him, and so I decided so he lived like 2 hours away from me. So that day, when he was like down to play video games forever. Well, so we dated for probably 5 months. Like, it was a while. Anyway, he told me to go up and help his mom or his mom asked me if I'd go up and help her with lunch or something. And he was like so addicted to this video game that I went up and I helped his mom. And then I thought, I'm going to drive home. I wonder if he would even know that I was gone. So, and I lived like 3 hours away.
Do you know what game it was, by the way? I'm curious.
I'm
just wondering, like, how is this game so good that like you get?
He played WoW, World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also had a really big thing for anime.
Well, okay, so guys who play the World of Warcraft, you know that the characters can have sex with each other in that game.
So I found this out later, and I also found that there's a thing called anime porn that he was really into. Like, I didn't know.
Yeah. There's a whole anime culture, and so for some reason, some guys think because it's cartoon anime porn that it's not quite like real porn. So it might be that gray area where you can watch it.
Yeah. So I saw anime porn by grabbing one of his DVDs and throwing it in the DVD player because my kids needed something to watch.
Oh my gosh. How unfortunate. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be a long discussion with your kids. Like, let me explain. There's different kinds of cartoons out there.
Oh, so it was awful. So that day when I went home, I didn't hear from him. So I thought, I'm gonna call him. Like, is he mad? Because I went home. So I called him and he's like, yeah. Are you upstairs? I'm like, no, I've been home for hours. You haven't left that couch, have you? So yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it just seems like, Tara, it just seems like you get like I'll give you 95%. You get 95% of the way, and then it's like, what? You play video games all day, you live in your mom's basement, and you watch anime porn?
I know. But he could kill a spider with an ice cube. Yeah.
But he can because he plays video games. That eye-hand coordination thing. It's like he's like it's cute, man. It's like
got some skills with that.
Yeah, that one really sucked. It was, I mean, you know what? That one was, I don't think it would have worked out anyway. I think he was a rebound. I really do. I think, yeah. So. All
right. So number 3.
So I took a break for a little while. And then I met this guy, John. And actually my kids loved him. He was awesome. We actually were out of all these, my parents would probably say that we were the most equally yoked. We were just very similar. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep, and he was really a nice guy. We used to have Nerf wars in his living room, and we just had a lot of fun. He was cool. Not as fun as Bachelor number 1, but he was still really, really fun.
Bachelor number 1.
Yeah. So
the guy who toilet papers houses, that guy.
He was so fun. We had so much fun together. But so this guy, so we got to get, and I was actually really scared to get engaged to him because I had like 2 failed engagements already. And so, believe it or not, number 3, I was like, I'm not, so he actually, that one took some convincing. So we got engaged, and we were going to get married in like 1 month, and we already had the temple reserved. We'd already done everything. And this is the most, I mean, I remember just looking at him like, you've got to be kidding me. He said, my ex-wife isn't with the guy she was with anymore. And we want to give it a go. We want to see if there's any spark still. And I was like, what?
How long did you date him before you were engaged?
Oh, like 8 months, like for so longer. But he was like, he's like, yeah, so we just want to make sure that we really want to move on. And I was like, you've got to be kidding. I always remember these like crazy things they said. He said, you know, I don't know why you're really overreacting. I thought you were more easygoing. That word, easygoing. Every time somebody says it, I just want to laugh. I'm like, no, I'm easygoing about whether we buy 2% or whole milk. Like, I don't care. But I'm not very easygoing about you know, giving your ex-wife another go. That was crazy.
You're engaged and you're going to be married in a month.
In a month.
I mean, that's pretty much saying
he was just making sure. He's like, you know, I'm walking down the aisle here, I might glance over and catch an eye of my ex-wife.
If you're engaged and you're about to be married, you already need to be sure. And your ex into the picture has nothing to do with it. It would be like, no, I'm already sure. You need to move on. That is so crazy.
I know. So we broke up. And 2 months later, he called me and was like, you know, it didn't really work out. We should pick up where we left off. And I said, well, I don't really do that, but we can go for ice cream and hang out. And so like, I am still friends with all these people. Well, I didn't ever have any big blow up. It was just like, yeah, this isn't working. Not going to work. We weren't on a break. So,
all right, number 4.
So yeah, so number 4, his name is Chip. He's a big guy, really, really, really a big guy. He was like 6'7" or so.
Oh, wow.
He weighed 220. I mean, a big guy. He was a lineman.
Wow.
And he actually kind of chased me, which was kind of romantic. I'd never had anybody chase me. It was kind of cool.
Nice.
And I liked it. It was fun.
A big guy, you know, like that's probably was kind of thrilling to have a big guy chase you.
It was just like he really
any guy chase you if you like them.
Yeah, it was I don't usually get chased. You know, my friends have always been prettier than me. Like this was like, I would say this is the first guy that like pursued me, and it was sort of fun, you know. But one day we talked about how I grew up in Idaho Falls, and in the backyard I'd put my handprints in the cement that surrounds the clothesline. I don't know where that conversation came up, but it did somewhere along the way. And so one day he's like, hey, we're going to go on a date, or I'm going to take you out. We're going to be gone all day. And I'd already gone out with him a couple of times. So we went to Idaho Falls, and he had already been there, and they had pulled up my handprints.
Oh my gosh.
I know. So we like toured my old house, and we put my old handprints in the back of his truck, and it was just, you know, so we're like driving out, and I look over just like with Ice Cube Man, and I'm like, you know, there's the way, you know, there it is. You know, this is it. You know, and why did I never realize he's actually pretty handsome, and blah, blah, blah. So he had these 2 yappy dogs, and I really don't like little dogs. If you're going to have a dog, it needs to be not this big and it can't yap. I don't like yappy dogs, but he had 2 yappy dogs. And my daughter had just had this baby kitten, and she didn't want this kitten anywhere near these yappy dogs. And Chip was like, so we ended up getting engaged later, like 4 months later. But she had this little kitten, and she kept making him lock up these dogs, but he loved them so much. And he's like, no, the dog and the cat have to get along if we're gonna be married, blah, 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 you know. So I'm like, oh, Autumn, you know, he's right. So we let these dogs out, and they ate the kitten.
Are you serious?
Oh,
like in front of our eyes. We're trying to get them off the kitten with Chip yelling at me not to hurt his dogs. And
oh my God.
I would have drop kicked those dogs. I would have been kicking those dogs across the lawn.
It was horrific.
That
It
is
was awful.
God.
So, I mean, it didn't like kill it right then. It died at the vet later, but it was like,
Oh,
I know.
puppy. Oh, dang.
So I
So
didn't-
that was what did it in for you then, huh? You were like, yeah, this isn't gonna work out.
You can't-
Wow. Okay, so let's recap before we get to number 5. Okay, let me recap this. So we got pantyhose.
I know. But, okay,
Yeah.
so
Pantyhose
right.
are out. Crossdresser. Then we got.
we're engaged to crossdresser.
Oh, you weren't.
Oh no, that was her first date. That was the first date out.
First date. Oh, so we're on how many? We're on engagement number 3.
No, we're going on to 5 now. It was 4.
But you said the
Right?
first guy wasn't a
No, the first guy was the guy that I
That was
wrecked
the
his
first
truck.
date.
Oh,
We're
okay.
gotta
Okay.
keep
let's
The
up.
keep
vodka
on.
guy.
We are on number 5 now. All right. Here we go,
All
Tara.
right. So we're just keeping track. All right. So we got
Boyfriend
World of
is out
Warcraft.
the window because of his stinking yappy dogs. Let's bring on number 5.
Okay. So number
All
5
right.
was actually a guy that I met in Burley, and he was actually really normal, actually a really good guy. And this one is one that broke up with me. He got transferred to Boise and asked me if I wanted to come along. He got a transfer with the state. And so this is actually pretty recent. This was 6 years ago. And so I had just finished my hospitality degree. I could be transferred with Hilton. And so we moved to Boise. He bought a house. I lived in the house while he lived in an apartment. We'd been dating for a while in Burley. And I mean, this is actually a really crazy one. I walked in to the house and he had all the singles there, and it was a Monday night. He used to always go to the family home evening things, and he used to always bug me about not going, but I worked every Monday night. And it was you could tell it was awkward. Like there was a weird static. I don't know how to explain it. Everybody got really quiet when I walked in. I hate that. Oh, I hate that so bad. But anyway, they were like, oh, hey, Tara, do you want us to get you a chair? And I'm like, oh no, best seat in the house is open. I went and sat on his lap, and just tried to make it light, and it wasn't working. And so I went and got a chair and brought it in the living room, and it was just awkward. But I noticed that he had these inside jokes with this other girl there. And like I would say things and he would be like, see, I told you. And I'd be like, told her what? Like it was so embarrassing. That was an awful night, really awful night. But this is what's crazy. So they left and I'm sitting on a freaking kitchen chair in the living room.
Again.
And he says that he fell in love with somebody else. And I mean, it was literally verbatim. I mean, it was like, you've got to be kidding me. I am like living this nightmare over again. I'm in a new town. He brought me up here from Burley and I could not believe it. And that's it. I was done. And honestly, I've been on one date. So, well, no, I've dated one guy since then, but I wouldn't really call, like, I've hung out with a friend is more how I should say it. Haven't.
Long ago.
I mean, it's like,
how long have you been
yeah, I'm just
hanging out with
done.
friends?
So
That's tough. I mean, yeah, I mean, talk about like a deja vu or some kind of like, you're like, have a seat in this chair in the middle of the living room. You're like, this isn't happening. Like,
I know. I know I brought you to Boise, and I know it was.
How long ago did that happen?
That's been almost 6 years ago.
Oh, wow. So you have not had a relationship of any sorts for 6 years.
Nope. No. And I've hung out with people, and I have not. So the LDS singles here, and I know a lot of them are on this podcast. I literally went underground. Like I became a workaholic, and I finished up my degree. I became a reputation manager. I became so focused on my career. I swore them all off. So then when the bash came up, I was like, oh crap, I've talked to these people again. So the bash actually made me start talking to the LDS singles again, but I actually was completely off the grid.
So do you think you're at a better place now? I mean, 6 years has passed from your 5 engagements. Do you think you're now like getting to where you're like, okay, maybe I might try this again?
So my daughter was recently really sick. She had brain surgery. And this is literally just a few weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't know that was that recent. Okay.
Yeah, like just literally just at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of March. And there have been 2 incidences, but this one, I was tending down by the river and I was like frozen. Like I was so sad and so scared. And I was like, I wish that there was somebody who would just come and find me and take me home. Like and I think that was like, yeah, you know, you're probably ready to get married again, because it was just like I can't even walk back up. I just wish somebody knew me well enough to find me and, you know, take me home and put on my fuzzy socks and just take care of it. I think that I'm kind of to a point where it would just be nice just to have somebody to have my back, you know. But again, that's super recent, you know. I think that I've gone through a lot and I've handled a lot that, you know, when you just get tired and it's I don't know how to explain it, but I wished that more than anything that day down by the river, that there was somebody who knew me that well. So
Yeah, I can imagine. How is your daughter doing now?
She's good. She's good. She's funny. So it kind of made her younger. I don't know how to explain it. She ended up with a late onset hydrocephalus, so water on the brain. So she had to have brain surgery. And so there's like she's got these memory blips. So sometimes she talks like she's like 12 and she's hilarious. And sometimes she talks like she's 19. But the bachelors will tell you, Autumn she's just the light of our lives. She's and I actually used the Boise Bash 2 page as a journal of her entire journey, and I used that thinking that, you know, other people have to be going through this, and I feel like I'm dying. I feel like this is not, I can't be here, and so this is what the bachelors need to hear. Anyway, to see me overcome this, like I know I'll overcome this. And so that whole page just kind of journals from the diagnosis through the surgeries, through all of it. It was really, yeah, it was hard. So.
Wow. So is that just a side effect of like her acting 12 or 16 or whatever? Will that go away, or is that just something?
And it's almost gone already.
Oh, okay.
But going into the surgery, she was acting like she was like 9 or so. And I would share all these messages with them. Like she would text me all the time. She used to be a major daddy's girl. And so she actually reverted back to being this daddy's girl. And so she was always up there. But it was kind of funny. She made this thing. She's like, what are those cookies called that you make? My favorite cookies, you know, the chocolate ones, and you have the frosting in the middle. And she's going on all these cookies. And I'm like, no, those are Oreos. They're available at the store. You know?
The best.
So I don't know. She's been really fun, and we've all the bachelors and I have really enjoyed all this. So she's getting a lot better. So
Good. That's good to hear. That's tough. It seems like you've been through a whole bunch.
No,
we all have stories, but it seems like just with suicide and divorce and engagements and daughter and then you've got all these accomplishments with Boise Bash and you're successful in your career. You're just an amazing person, like to be able to just do all that and come out on the other end on top. Like, I feel like you're happy, right? You said you're happy and you're doing well. So
yeah, but I think it's taken a long time to get here. I wish that other women could see that, because I was this way too, that, you know, you think you have to get married again right away because you were successful married, and you don't, you know, I know I was a good wife and a good mom, and so you want to revert back to that so bad. You want that dream, and there are other dreams, you know, and you can keep looking, and honestly, if you break up, it's okay. Like I said, I'm friends with all these guys. Well, except the last one, I'm not. That was too much, but yeah, all these other ones, yeah. I mean, sometimes you're just not a good fit, and there's no reason to man bash, be upset. Like, we can all laugh at this, and you know, we're all like these old people trying to make it, you know. So
yeah, it's better to find out before marriage, right? It's not a good fit. So yeah, I think you've got a good attitude to be like, well, this isn't it. This doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for you, whatever the case is. And so part ways and be friends and be happy. That's not normally how it goes. So
No.
good for you.
And
Well,
my
I think it
parents.
shows your maturity. Well, I
Yeah,
also think it shows your
absolutely.
maturity. I think we've had past discussions and past podcasts on like personality disorders. And so usually people with those disorders, like they take every slight like it's the worst thing you could possibly do to them, you know, and it doesn't sound like you have that problem. Like you say, look, you know, you like wearing pantyhose, you like playing video games. Not for me, but we can still be friends, right?
They're all funny. Like, you know, you have to find the humor in it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you
do.
can't make this stuff up, you know? So
No, but if you let it bother you, then it, you know, then you're the problem. But if you're like, you know, it's funny. I'm not marrying that person, but you know, it's funny and I can still like them. It shows your character. So
You know what to get him for Christmas? A big basket of pantyhose. Be so exciting. There you
and
go.
you can have mine.
fishnet. I want to see the fishnet ones. Come on.
Keep his curves in the right spot. Anyway, you're just
Well,
great.
Tara, this is the part of the show where we kind of like to turn it over for questions from the audience, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
And
wait. I need one of you guys to pick it. You guys, one of you has to pick a name from our list because I don't see our list. Just pick a name, any name.
What list?
Cool.
What list are we doing?
The people who are here.
Oh, let me change my view. Anybody? I can just pick a name.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to pick a name that's just, let's see. There's someone named Clint.
Oh, no, pick again. It's got to be a basher.
Brent says, pick me.
Okay, Brent.
Okay, so I told them that I would have a prize if the bashers came and supported me. So
Brent,
yeah.
you want a surprise? You want a prize?
So Brent, I'm paying your way to the hot springs up at the lodge.
Oh,
there you go. Thanks for tuning in, bud.
That's awesome.
Uh-oh, we got sad face from Jill. She wanted it.
Well, what we'll do now for the audience out there is that we will open it up for questions. If you want to ask Tara a question, you know, just have anything you want to say, feel free to raise your hand. You can do it through the Alt key on your keyboard and the Y, or if you're a Mac user, you can use the Option key and the Y, and that should be able to turn your hand, raise your hand up and down. If you're on tablets and phones, I can't help you. So there's a feature in there to make you raise your hand.
You can chat one of us and let us know you want a question too. We can.
True, you can do that too.
Or a comment. You can ask Corey a question. You can ask any of us question.
Any of us a question. Or you can chew me out for talking smack about something.
Oh my gosh. Well, while we're waiting for somebody to raise their hands, we really
Brett's raised his hand.
Oh, who did? Oh, Brent. Brent, you just won a gift.
So.
What are you doing coming on? I'm just kidding. Come on out.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Brent. Is he coming? Hello?
I think so. Unless he's rejecting the camera.
Let's see. Asked to start video.
Brett.
You know, Brent's he might have a different person. He's got some issues. Okay, Brent, are you meeting your hand?
Can you hear us? We can hear noises.
You know, he's got that issue with his video and his audio. I'm sorry, Brent. Okay. He says, never mind.
Well, you can type it.
I hear like a mouse. It sounds like a mouse is talking, doesn't it?
He's still working on that.
Brent has that issue and he's self-conscious about it. Don't talk about it.
Brent has issues. That's true. That's not what I meant. I meant his computer and his audio have issues. Not necessarily.
Brent, you and your little mouse voice are fine, buddy. It's okay.
And we don't care if you wear pantyhose. It's all right, Brent. Just joking. Okay. Anyone else real quick?
Anything you want to ask? You can ask about the bash. You can ask about whatever it is.
While we're waiting, I just want to touch really quick because you talked about your cancer, but it was like really rushed over. So I just personally want to know, is there one thing you learned through that experience that though you wouldn't want to go back and relive it, but at the other end of dealing with what you dealt with cancer, like you were like, I'm so glad that I have this that came out of it. Not that you want to redo it, but just the knowledge or the experience or whatever that you gained from that experience.
You know, Mother's Day was right around that time. And I think that my parents coming to Missouri over that, it made me realize just how dearly parents love their children.
Yep.
I think that's probably what I took away with it more than anything is it, my mom's always made me stand on my own 2 feet, and my mom can be a bear, but when I couldn't stand on my own 2 feet, she was my legs. And to have like, I think that cancer proved to me what a parent's love really is supposed to be. So yeah.
That's awesome.
I think so.
That is good.
That's amazing that they came and supported you that way.
Yeah, that was crazy. I can't believe they did that either. It was cool though.
Yeah. I mean, the love that they have for you. I'm just glad that they were able to be in a position they could do that. You know, some people probably wouldn't have that option. So that's great.
And that's a big move. I look back at that and I marvel, like, to move across the country for your daughter when they've got a farm, and they just uprooted and came to me, and that was it's pretty incredible. They're good people, really good people. So yeah.
All right.
So what activities, like what's some activities you plan for the bash? Like anything outrageous?
For this bash?
Add on that question that Corey just asked. Brent is curious. I think this might have been his question. Which hot springs?
But okay, I don't remember. It's the one that's closest to Garden Valley, Brent. The proprietor sent me the information on it, but I don't remember what it's called. But I'll tell you when I know. So sorry.
So that means that's is it like the hot springs, like the famous one in Idaho that's like
lava hot springs? Yeah, they've got springs up there all over the place, but there's a main one, and it's the one that's closest. That's a big one, Brent. That's all I know. So, yeah.
That sounds good. Sounds like fun.
So I think the crazy thing it's not really that crazy, but
a bouncy house. Come on.
Yeah, the bounce house will be fun. We're doing a massive glow in the dark Easter egg hunt. I've got all kinds of crazy prizes in them. I stuffed 1,500 Easter eggs. Wow. And we're gonna like have everything glow, and it's gonna be in the middle of the night, and it's gonna be fun. Yeah. It's just weird stuff like that we do.
Hey, we did once an Easter egg hunt with flashlights. Have you ever done that?
Yeah. So I've never done
that, but it's kind of cool. I was like, this is fun.
Yep. Yeah. So
that was an interesting.
All right. So the bouncy house, is it going to be bouncing going on, or is it going to be like, are you going to sleep in it like the pillow room?
So there's 3 of them. So we're just going to have to designate which one is for what.
Okay. So everyone's I hear a lot. I've never been to any of these outings. Okay. I became single during COVID. Never been to singles dances or any of these little get-togethers that they have set up. But I hear from others that a lot of these kind of meetups in hotels and do things like it can turn into like full on like hooking up with people. So how, like, I know that there's also some that are like, no, we're very like, these are the rules. You can't be in each other's rooms, blah, 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 blah. Like how's Boise Bash structured with that?
You know what? I think that the bashers would all agree with me. They tend to weed themselves out. By getting to know each other before the bash, people who are uncomfortable just tend to cancel. And it's weird. None of us can quite explain it, but there's so much talking before that we just sort of know what to expect when we get there and what the rules are. I always tease my bashers that they all owe me like $39.99 a month because we've had quite a few marriages come out of the bash.
Oh, really?
Engagements. Yeah.
So
it's
cool.
like, I think I am more successful than Match.com.
Ooh,
I really do.
That's awesome.
But I think it's because we set this precedent. So no, I don't think we have a lot of people hooking up unless they're doing it without me knowing. But we're all together, and I think it'd be hard to really hook up because we're just
There's
all
not a lot of people like wandering off in the woods and then
like pillow room. And I hear about all these other stories that people have told me about all these locations in like a big pillow room.
No, so the pillow room always has like 50 people in it though. Like you can't really.
That's true.
Like, you've got movies playing and it's wide open. It's not like you can shut the door, and it's Yeah, it's
That's
just
good. Awesome.
You know, you don't get under the blanket and make a lot of ghost noises or anything like that.
no blankets. Nope.
No ghost noises. That's good. Okay. Cool.
All right, we have a question.
Yeah, Jill, come on. It's your turn. You can unmute and undo your video.
There she is. Unmute.
Maybe we need to ask her to unmute.
Unmuted.
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yep.
can. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm in my car. I was out at a basketball game.
No
Anyway, so Tara, you talked a lot about service projects being part of David and part of the bash. I'm wondering what you've done before and what we're going to be doing at the bash this time.
So I haven't quite decided because we're going to be at a different location. There's a couple of options I'm looking at. We've done some different things in the past. We've done the rubbings on the gravestones for Find a Grave. We've done that. We've done
Oh, cool.
yeah, there's all kind of, we've put together packages for the homeless shelter. I don't know exactly what's needed. One of the reasons I talked about the proprietor gift is I know that there's a section that he's still working on, and he's doing us such a big favor that we might be helping him out. But I'm actually going up there this weekend to kind of get a lay of the land. So
Okay.
this all changed so fast that there's a lot of stuff I haven't planned yet because of the venue change. So
You are doing awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it. So I
bless your
appreciate all your
heart.
work.
Yeah, we'll have a good
So
time.
good.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have a good time.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for
Yep. Thanks for coming on, Jill. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I always enjoy your guys' discussions.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a question? No?
Well, so the service projects, you were mentioning that maybe like homeless and stuff. I've seen other projects in the past, like some of the needs of the homeless population is socks, like, and so, you know, getting maybe 3 pairs of socks or having some, you know, tube socks or something for them. That's usually the biggest thing that they're lacking is socks. And so that, and then toiletries, you know, like soap and toothbrush, toothpaste, things like that. So if you had some kind of a kit that had like socks and toothpaste and that kind of stuff, if that was something you wanted to do as an idea, I've seen those very successfully work.
Well,
And
so
then
we
just go
had
down.
the hotel had a fire, and so we actually will be taking, so I'm glad you said that, Corey. We're actually taking a lot of that stuff up to make care packages out of the packaging that we can't use anymore to resell, you know, so I'm glad that you said that. Yeah. And then we always do, you guys know what kindness rocks are, right? Where you paint the little inspirational sayings on rocks and you hide them everywhere. That's always a part of the bash. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Fun.
All right, so we got bouncy houses, and then and so you gonna be outdoor movies, anything like that, or
So it, I hate to say this because it was going to be a surprise, but it's okay. They have an amphitheater, and so I need to go check it out. But I think we'll have some outdoor movies in the amphitheater. I just don't get excited, bashers. I have to make sure it's going to work. So that's all. Yeah.
You're making me want to just book a flight and come on out. But I'm a latecomer.
I'm like, I should have probably like considered going. Like I thought about it. I'm like, I don't know anybody, but it sounds like y'all get to know people beforehand.
You do. I mean, if you go crash some of the sites, and we make them private, but I've invited you guys to all of them. It's amazing. Like, I've never met Jill in person, but we just talk like we've known each other forever because I feel like I've known her forever. So when we meet, we'll probably just give each other a hug and be like, oh yeah, you know, and I'm sure I'll recognize her. It's just like a reunion. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that's actually really good to know, because since I am kind of introverted, like, I don't know, like just hopping into a big bunch of people I really don't know, that's just not my cup of tea. So it's interesting that you have that Facebook set up where people can get to know each other. That's awesome.
And then if you don't want, like, I personally, like, there's a bunch of people on here who like to go hot tubbing together. That is not me. They call it COVID stew. I don't like it. So, you know, they'll be hanging out in the COVID stew, and I'll be up painting rocks with a couple ladies. Like, everywhere you go, there's these little pods of people doing stuff. And so you meet people with your same interests. really easy too. So yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So people can go to the Bashers Facebook, because some people on the chat have been saying like where would they go to get new information or get information about this? So do you have a?
Well, we have a website. You can go to boisebash.com.
Okay. So go to there to get more information.
Yeah, but the actual Facebook page, you have to be a basher to go to because I've promised all the bashers and myself, that's all private. That's all what happens on the page stays on the page. We vent, we cuss, we laugh, we talk about our kids, but that's a safe space to hang out. So we don't let just anybody in there.
Very private group. Very good.
Good.
Okay, so it sounds like October is the next one.
Right.
For those who couldn't make the April, so maybe you can make the October one.
Yeah. The bash is full. It's full. Yeah.
I know. Brent's
Over
like,
with
don't
you.
even try. Don't even try to crash our party because no more slots.
No, we don't do bash crashers. No.
Oh, bash crashers are banned.
Yeah,
Or
they
strung
are.
up.
Crashers.
Or strung up in the
Bash
trees.
crasher. That would be fun.
Don't crash the bash.
The first basher crasher.
That'd be a great bumper sticker. Why don't you make one of those bumper stickers? Don't crash the bash.
So our last t-shirts said so funny. We were all on this Facebook page and they were talking about whether or not we were going to fast on Sunday. And I was like, no, we have so many activities to do. And one of the ladies was like, well, we could half fast. Like we could just do a little meal. So the back of our t-shirts last year said, don't half fast the bash.
Don't have that.
I like it. Those are great quotes.
Cool. Oh
That's
man.
Really good. Well, we really enjoyed our time with you, Tara. We got to know you. You're an amazing person.
Thank you.
There are 5 idiots out there that didn't get a ring on it. Put a ring on your finger. So yeah, I'm gonna just be the bold guy who says idiots. All right, so
Well, she
anyway,
walked away from 4 of those 5. So she was smart.
Yeah, that's true. They could have changed their ways. They could have changed, said, hey, this woman's worth changing my life for. So,
Yeah. Bless your heart. Thank you. Yeah. So.
But so we really appreciate you coming on and talking with us and getting to know you. It's been awesome. Also getting to know more about the bash because you hear about it, but now we know even more about it. And it sounds pretty exciting. I don't know about you, but not Everett or Celeste, but October, maybe we should do a podcast from the bash.
Bash and the crash or crash and the bash in October.
Well, we keep talking about we need to have like a major like battle of the admins. Like I want to put on like sumo wrestling suit and like so yeah, please come.
That would be so fun.
That would be fun.
Wow.
Well, this is the point in the show where we kind of have a little after party and we get to know you a little bit more kind of in a casual environment without the recordings. And so I think Everett's got control of the recording.